Welcome to my channel. This is Hot Mess and Hot Glue. My name is Lynn. Let's go ahead and have some fun, you guys. We got some really cool Easter decor today. I went kind of with a little bit more of a modern vibe. Love the way these turned out. This is going to be the last little bit of the Easter series for this channel. So I did want to make sure that I included some free printables for you. Taking this 4x4 frame from Dollar Tree, I just kind of disassembled it. And then I just used the background of the picture that came with it to just kind of size the picture that I was going to be putting back into the frame. And so this could not have been any easier. Again, I will have this printable linked down below. I just created this on Canva, and I will share that with you in case you would like to recreate this. Now, I did crop the image of this bunny there. It's actually a little bit more of a full-size bunny. So if you do get the download, or I'm sorry, if you do click on the printable, you might see that there's different options available for you in that as well. There's also additional pictures available for you in the free downloads also. Now, this little bunny, he's just super cute. I printed him out on plain computer paper, nothing fancy. I cut it down to size and I put it inside this really sleek 4x4 frame. Now we're going to use these 7x7 frames. I love these square frames. Again, I'm going to make sure that all of the images that I'm showing you here today are going to be printables that you can access yourself if you would like to recreate any of these. Now for this one, I did put the glass on top, but on the second one with the bunny inside the egg, I did not. I put the glass behind the paper to kind of give it a matte finish. So I wanted to show you that here in this finished product, how you can see the glare on one of them and how you really don't see any glare on the other. I'm going to make them all glareless. I really liked that. So next up, I'm going to make a little bit larger decor using some foam board. Now I don't have exact measurements. I just kind of took the pieces I was working with, laid it on foam board, and I just cut it out. I couldn't even guess what the measurements are, to be quite honest. Now, I was gifted this really awesome cork ribbon, so I'm going to use the remainder of that in this project. Instead of using hot glue to attach this, I'm going to use some of these glue dots that I got at Dollar Tree. Now, I had a heck of a time getting these on here, but once I figured out the right way to do it, they worked out really good. And what I liked about using the glue dots as opposed to hot glue is, for one, when you're using hot glue on foam, sometimes if it's too hot, it can misshape the foam itself, but then you can also sometimes end up with an actual textured bead of glue on the ribbon itself. And so I noticed that more so with the leather ribbon. And so when I saw these glue dots, this is exactly the application that I picked them up for. I wanted to use them on those textured ribbons so that I didn't have to use as much hot glue, if any at all. So I just kind of eyeballed them. I stuck them down to all four sides. Now, I cut them down once they were on. Now the piece that we're working with is going to be that carrot form, and I gave it 2 coats of that black KRYLON Fusion spray paint. Now, this is not an Easter tag, so it makes me almost wonder if this is something that's going to be available year-round. I'm not really sure, but it could be something really cute for garden decor down the road. So now that the paint's dry on that, I'm just going to take little dots of hot glue and I'm going to attach this. Now, this is foam board, so it doesn't take much. It's not very heavy. It's a very, very quick, light piece project. What I liked about this is that if I want to, I could add a hanger on the back of it and use it for wall decor. What I did for just kind of picture purposes was I just left it on my entryway table, because I know I keep saying we're moving, so I'm not putting more stuff on the walls. We're trying to take stuff off the walls. So most things that could be hung are not going to be hung for a little while. Now, I went through all of the leftover ribbon that I had, so I just kind of wanted to see what other options, because for me, finding that ribbon was impossible. I never could find it. One of my really good friends, her name is Michelle, she sent me that ribbon, and I could not, I legitimately squealed. I was so excited when I saw it. But anyway, so I was just kind of rummaging through my stash, and I had these pre-cut strips of the adhesive backed cork board that you get in the crafter section at Dollar Tree. And I really thought that this was kind of a nice complement. Is they are similar, but they're not identical. So it kind of takes away from that identical matching piece, but I didn't have enough material, and I know I wasn't going to find more of that cork ribbon, but that's okay. So when I attached these, they didn't fit all the way across. So I staggered kind of the two like pieced together portions just to give them a little bit more visual symmetry. So once they're all attached, then as you can see here, this once purple yard stake, it also got 2 coats of that same black KRYLON spray paint. As I was trimming it, I accidentally took off part of the bunny tail, so I just went with it, cut the rest of it off with just some regular scissors, and it actually ended up looking a little bit better that way. And again, to attach this, I'm just going to use small little amounts of beads of hot glue, and I'm just going to kind of go around the outer rim of this plastic, give it just a little bit of pressure. Now I want to be a little sparing with it because I don't want the hot glue to then seep through to become really noticeable. Now, because this is plastic, I did have that flexibility of lifting it just a little bit, running the hot glue right down the middle, and calling it good. Now, on these stickers here, I'm just going to give them a really thin coat. Now I did 3 coats because I recommend you do a thin layer of paint each time. If you go too thick, you're going to have a lot of paint overhanging on the sides of your little dots here. Now you could also use thumbtacks and paint those. This is again what I had on hand, and I thought that this would keep this project very simple and very minimal as far as using anything special in regards to materials. Using those, I'm just going to kind of create a little bit of character to the corners of each one of these little pictures. And that's going to be it for each of these. Now, again, this took very little material. It's extremely easy. I think this has a very clean, modern look to it. What I love is that if you wanted to do a black background and do a different color for the little critters, you could go pastel. You don't even have to go with this color scheme. I love how versatile it is. But I really love that it's lightweight. It's going to be easy to pack away for, you know, putting away all of our holiday decor. But I think it just gives it a very unique and kind of modern approach to the Easter holiday and season. Love the texture of the bunny. I just was adoring the kind of diamond shapes that it had, and it just kind of immediately gave off a very modern feel. So I was very happy with that. For this next project coming up, my son and I were at Target. He absolutely had to have this gigantic gold Easter egg. I just didn't feel like fighting with it because I wanted to enjoy my Target trip. So he got it. Now, I knew I was going to have to reuse this to really justify this in my head. Now, I gave it 2 coats inside and out of white spray paint using the bottom of that large egg only. Now, unfortunately, I don't know why I didn't hit record when I first started to attach this bamboo reed. I will make sure that this is linked in my description box below. I've used it in several projects and I absolutely love it. It adds such a nice modern trim. I paid like $12 for it and I still have a whole bunch left. So I definitely feel like it was worth its money as far as adding this not necessarily a Dollar Tree item to my crafting supplies. Using the little pink clamps from Dollar Tree that I love that Miss Michelle also sent me, I'm going to use my favorite wood stain. Now, this is a little bit on the lighter side. If you want to even use this same stain, you just have to do a couple coats. You just do 1 coat, let it dry, then go back in and paint over it with yet another 1 or 2 coats more in addition to kind of get that desired darkness. Now, I didn't want it to be extremely dark. I kind of play with darker stains later in the video. So I kind of wanted a little bit of an array of stain finishes for these projects. Now I stained the inside and the outside because you can see both of that. I'm going to use my absolute favorite E6000 dupe from the Dollar Tree, this Fix All Cement, to attach them. I'm going to use some of that and then just a little bit of hot glue because I'm incredibly impatient and I don't want to wait for this to just dry on its own. I need the hot glue to do most of the work for me. So I'm going to use a Dollar Tree candlestick, attach the 2 of those, and now I have a year-round textured display bowl for my entryway table. I think this is absolutely fun. I did debate doing black or white. I went with white. Obviously, I went with white. Let me know what you think. Would you have gone with black? Here are our next projects. So this is the original project. Here is this bunny. I thrifted this guy last year for about $3. I gave him 2 coats of white spray paint just to give myself a nice clean canvas. Taking some Fawn by Waverly, I wanted to kind of mimic the bunny that you see in the corner. Now, I did not have the picture up. I was going strictly off of memory. I was you can see my iPad is open in the upper right hand corner. I was talking with my neighbor and chit chatting, so I was kind of distracted, wasn't really paying attention, just having fun. So anyway, the project itself got a little derailed. I didn't end up loving the way it looked. So once it was all dry, I decided to take a little bit of this cashew color, and it's just a more yellowish cream color than say ivory is. I mixed it in with the fawn and tried to just kind of get it a little bit more dark. Now, this is kind of where the project went south. I mean, I just did everything I could to try to recover from it. So I'm adding thin layers of this mixtured paint. Then I end up not really liking it. I go in, I'm adding layers of white paint. I don't love that. Then I go in with some antiquing wax and I'm mixing that with the white paint. I like that. So we stick with that. And I cover the bunny in one full kind of messy coat of this like mixture of white paint and Waverly's antiquing wax. And then I just left it at that. I went over it with a very, very, very light dry coat of just kind of like a dusting brush with white paint, just to kind of give it that like pottery look, so it didn't just look like this weird monochromatic bunny just kind of sitting there. In the end, I really like the way this turned out, but I'm very stubborn. I mean, look at this guy. He's so modern and cute looking. I absolutely love him. But again, like I mentioned, I'm stubborn. I really wanted to see what I could do to recreate that bunny because I really liked the way it looked. So going through my stash, I found this bunny that I had thrifted last year and just painted. And I'm going to use my miter shears to cut the popsicle stick. And it's really only because they just cut like butter. They are so nice. Regular scissors will do they'll do just as good of a job, honestly. I have them, so I love to use them. Now, because there was a little bit of wood fray, I'm just going to sand it down a smidge to make sure that my end pieces of this popsicle stick are nice, straight, and smooth. So instead of using a paintbrush, I'm going to dip this into the Apple Barrel's color. It is traditional beige, and I'm just going to first highlight these little grooves because the other bunny did on the inspiration piece. And then I'm just going to use this as like a stamp, and I'm just going to stamp these lines. I don't want them perfect. I want them to have kind of a natural organic flow to them. So some of them are dark, some of them are light, some of them you can barely see. And I was really liking the way that this is going. Continue this throughout the entire bunny. And here they are side by side. I think that this is just absolutely adorable. It's not identical to the inspiration piece, but that's okay. I wasn't going for a dupe. I just saw it and thought it was cute and might be able to do it on my own. Our next project here, I absolutely love this egg-shaped riser. It's so fun. So I think I had mentioned before, I was having a really hard time finding just these plain egg shapes. So I went online and purchased them, and you could get a quantity of 4. Now, using that joint compound, I'm going to fill in the little holes where they were strung with like their tags, and I'm just going to cover that up. And then while that's drying, I'm going to grab 3 of these little snakes from the Dollar Tree. Again, I'm going to use as much of their material as possible. So I'm going to cut as close to the head as I can and as close to the tail, removing both of those ends. Now, I'm going to use this in kind of like a border. You know, we see a lot of trays that have a beaded garland in the border in the middle, as you saw in the original picture with the finished product. So to just kind of keep that seamless, I wanted to give it a really nice sanding. So I removed as much of the rough edges of the snake as well as the rough edges on where the joint compound was. I did not want this to be very flimsy. So I'm taking all 4 of these. I'm going to glue 2 of them together, and that's going to act as one base layer. I'm going to take the other 2, glue those together, and that will act as the top layer. So you're going to want 2 for the top, 2 for the bottom, if you just want to make sure it's a little bit more sturdy. So again, I'm just going to line these little snake pieces up, use some hot glue to kind of attach them down. Now I use a very thin amount because I don't want that glue to seep out through the visible portion. And so I'm just kind of using this to tack it down. Once everything is on there, then I go through, because you're not going to be able to see the inside of this snake. I then go through and I add a much more generous layer of hot glue to the back portion, so it kind of seeps into the ridges of this little snake's body, and it just kind of adds a little bit more stability so that this all just kind of flows a little bit better. Now, if I had to do it over again, what I should have done was added a little strip of that snake kind of in the middle to give it a little bit more stability in the middle, but don't do what I did. If you're going to make this, definitely add some stability in the middle. So once these are all put together, I thought it would be a really fun use of these snake tails to kind of chop them down and maybe use those for the legs of the riser. Now, I had a really hard time chopping them with my miter shears, and I just was like, oh, I've got this cute little machine that my husband picked up for me at Harbor Freight. Absolutely love it. So I decided to use that. But the reality is not everyone's got this in their arsenal. So I do actually change the look of this and decide to go a different route. In the end product, you saw these really cute little bunnies holding them up, because those you can find at Dollar Tree, and those are going to be easier to access if in fact you wanted to recreate this project on your own. Now, this is that darker stain I was telling you about. This is Jacobian. I really like this. I don't like everything done in the same stain. This is a little bit dark for me, but when I combine Decor and I do a light and a dark stain, I think it just looks really classic, very pretty, and it gives the Decor a little bit more of a dimension and less of a handmade look if it's not all the exact same color. So you see here, I removed the legs. That's when I decided, no, it doesn't seem like a very nice idea to create something that you have to almost have this special tool for. So once that was all dry, I went back in with some of the tiny little bunnies, and I just attached a little bead behind the bunny, and then I put the bunny on, and I did several bunnies around the entire lower perimeter of this egg-shaped riser to make sure that it was level and nice and sturdy. Now, I'm not going to put anything extremely heavy on it. I don't trust these little bunnies. I had used a really cute gumball machine in a couple previous videos, and I decided we had another one on hand, and I had all these leftover adorable little raw wood ornaments. And so I thought, well, kind of taking on how I did with the one before, I'm just going to use these as a vase filler inside this little gumball machine. And I'm going to then kind of add a couple white beads to it because it needed a little bit of color dimension. It just was a little bland because I didn't stain or paint these different shapes. Each shape kind of blended together. So I decided to add a little bit of texture by adding one of those additional cork like ribbons that I had kind of just lying around extra from a previous project like I had mentioned. And so once I added the beads and I kind of shook everything up, I felt like it looked a little bit better. I just didn't know really what to do. I wanted to do something different with these. Please let me know what you think about the gumball machine. I think it's really fun. I like that I was able to take two different machines and kind of make them completely different. One's very whimsical, very kid-friendly spring. This one's a little bit more on the modern clean side. And then our last project today is going to be this Happy Easter sign. So I'm taking a wood round that I got from Target years ago. And now Dollar Tree does have wood rounds, so you can use them if you're able to find them. I just haven't been able to find them. And I had this in my stash. And again, name of the game, use up my stash. So we're going to do 2 color blocks, one in Ballet Slipper and one in Elephant, both by Waverly. I use my heat gun to dry these because I'm incredibly impatient. I then grab some stickers that I have on hand that I got at Walmart. Now, they are still available at Walmart, but I did find these in like the poster board section, kind of if you were going to put together like a school project. So it's not necessarily in the crafting section. It was in more of the like office supply section in case you're interested in these stickers. I just loved the font. I thought it was really fun and it was super easy. You don't have to have a Cricut. I'm going to then just kind of piece together some little bits of greenery using a combination of lamb's ear and some eucalyptus kind of like silver dollar sized leaf petals. And again, I try not to go too crazy when it comes to greenery or ribbon and things like that. Now, it was absolutely missing something in the middle. Luckily, I had this huge flower left over from last year in my stash. I believe this came from Dollar Tree. It's quite possible that this came from a Walmart bundle. So I apologize for not knowing the exact origin of this beautiful flower, but that's all right. You guys, thank you so much for watching. I cannot even begin to explain how much your support and just getting to know you and all the comments really mean to me. Until next time, you guys, let me know which one was your favorite, which you'd like to see more of, and I hope you guys all know how much you mean to me. Bye!